Hello again, welcome back inside the Tier 4 studio in Morgantown, West Virginia. For the Charleston Daily Mail, I am Mike Casazza. You are here for the Wednesday walkthrough, the 11th of 13 episodes this season as we look ahead to the upcoming West Virginia football game. This week feels a lot like many of the other weeks. The reason being, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Fox Sports 1, it's West Virginia against a top 15 opponent. This time, number 12 Kansas State. It's the 5th top 15 opponent. The schedule at West Virginia has never had more than 3. But let's talk about the schedule, a bit of serendipity along the way. Opening the season against Alabama in Atlanta in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game, that's a pretty cool thing for fans. You look forward to it all season. It's kind of like a bowl game at the start, which is really nice for a fan base that didn't have a bowl game at the end last year. But then the home schedule grows to include Oklahoma, Baylor, TCU, and now the Wildcats. Let's not worry about 2015 where West Virginia will travel to play all those teams. It could be 4 road games against highly ranked teams. Let's instead talk about the occasion and perhaps the opportunity tomorrow night. These big stages that West Virginia has played on and generally done pretty well on, it's even bigger tomorrow night because it's the only game on really. Everybody's talking and everybody's drawing conclusions, and West Virginia is a team you really have to think about and look at to draw conclusions on. Is this the 6-2 team that was very highly ranked in a number of offensive and even defensive categories before? Or is it the team that's lost 2 in a row that was 1 point away, 1 blown defensive assignment away against TCU, and then really far away on the road against Texas? We don't know yet. But the talking points can change a whole lot, as we said, by winning or losing against Kansas State. How do you beat Kansas State? It's not so easy. A lot of teams try, a lot of teams fail. It's a very successful, very steady program, and if you have 2 eyes or 2 ears, you understand. It's detail, it's discipline, it's work ethic, it's blue-collared nature. I'm pretty much out of adjectives that describe the 1 point, but they are just solid and fundamental. They don't beat themselves, you have to beat them, and they make it hard with a lot of the things they do. The second least penalized team in the country, they don't line up out of position, they're special on special teams. Let's talk offense. Jake Waters is not the Kansas State quarterback that you think of when you think about Kansas State. He's not Colin Klein, but he's a little bit of Klein and a little bit of Jake Waters. Jake Waters, of course, the guy who set the national junior college completion percentage record for 3,500 yards, 30-plus touchdowns, very few interceptions. He can spin it. He's got 2 receivers. Lockett, Sexton, a great tandem in the Big 12, but it's interesting that Waters is also the leader in attempts. He can run the ball, he ducks behind guards, he dashes, they put it in his hands, they put the offense on his shoulders. You see a lot of quarterback run plays where they do the zone read and they keep it and run, or they do the zone read and they keep it and pass, or they do the zone read and they give it away. They do everything with just the quarterback. He's going to run it on an ISO, on a counter, on a power play, whatever, or he's going to run it and stop and throw it. It's all of that tricky action without a running back. And he's really good at it. And it's going to confound West Virginia's defense, which has to commit a guy probably in that intermediate level just to keep Waters honest and not let him run around and cause havoc. But when you commit 1 guy to the run, there's 1 fewer defenders for the pass. And Waters knows that. He's a little bit of Klein, like I said, because he can run, and he's a little bit of Waters because he can pass. He's not like the guy that you've seen in recent years. And he's got weapons he can throw to. 1 person to watch. Let's keep an eye on Glenn Gronkowski. Yes, a Gronkowski plays for Kansas State. He has 4 touchdown catches in his career. 3 of them were over 50 yards. He averages better than 30 yards of reception. I wouldn't call him a weapon, but he is certainly a tool that Kansas State likes to use in its attacks. Defense, it's not as spectacular as it has been in the past, but it's solid. It's a lot of the same players. They just haven't been prolific with a lot of their numbers. One of the worst teams in the Big 12 and even the country in sacks and tackles for a loss, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense because they have players. Ryan Mueller was the Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year last year. Tied a school record for sacks. He has just 3.5 this year. Travis Britz, though, in the middle, I think is a really underrated player. You should watch him. He's a fireplug. He is mobile strength, if that makes any sense. What I mean is he's really good at pushing forward and getting in the backfield. You can see that on special teams, too. He blocked an extra point against West Virginia last year. He blocked one against Oklahoma this year that actually was the decisive point in the game. But he can also go left and right laterally. He's going to complicate a lot of the things that West Virginia likes to do with the zone runs, but also the power plays too. He's just active. Linebackers are where they do a lot of their damage. Ryan Truman one of those former walk-ons. He leads the team in tackles. His backup's an interesting player, though, too. Corey Johnson has the most tackles for a loss in the team. His first start came against Auburn. He ended up being the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. He's active. He can make plays. The story of Kansas State, though, in this game is their secondary. Randall Evans is that extra cornerback. He's a matchup guy, a senior, a former walk-on from Miami, a pretty solid player, as you'd expect from Kansas State secondary. Their safeties, though, well, hey, if you're playing West Virginia, your safeties are probably going to have a good game. Dante Barnett is second on the team in tackles, very active, leads the team in pass breakups. But let's watch Dillon Schnellenberger had 10 tackles against TCU last week. He's the free safety. He's going to be the guy that has to come up and make a lot of plays. Kansas State's going to play zone, keep everything in front of them, and go down and tackle. They just don't miss tackles. West Virginia's yards after catch, and I would say catches on the run, are going to be really important in this game because Kansas State will keep everything in front of them and pounce and make tackles, not miss many. The safeties will be active. Special teams, though, Joe DeForest calls this his biggest challenge of the season. If you haven't been paying close attention, his coverage teams have been very good the past couple of weeks. Since the kickoff return touchdown by Oklahoma, just 19 yards per return, and they've only allowed 19 return yards since the punt return touchdown by Kansas. They've been a lot better lately, but they're going to be tested. Lockett's dynamic. He was one of the best kick returners for a long, long time. Has 4 kickoff return touchdowns, is a national leader every year in that. And now he's returning punts. That's unusual. I hope you appreciate how rare that is. It's a separate skill set to return punts and to return kickoffs. It's so distinct that you rarely see one player do both because it's generally 2 different types of players that do it. Lockett is that versatile. He's that good. He just happens to be number 2 in the country in punt returns this year. They block a lot of kicks. They return kicks. Their blocking on the returns is great. And if it's the biggest challenge for West Virginia this season, it's certainly something to worry about. That's all for now. For the Charleston Daily Mail, I am Mike Casazza. We'll see you next time.